Let's welcome on our guest line the Republican presidential candidate, Mr. Donald J. Trump. Mr. Trump, I know everybody wants a piece of you, and you've got an incredible schedule. We're always grateful when you can take time for us here at the Mike Gallagher Show.
Well, you've been my friend, Mike, and I appreciate it, and you made me feel very good. I didn't hear about that poll. It just came out, I guess, but
it did.
That's good.
It just was released, and
that's good. You know how to make me happy.
Well, and a lot of Americans are happy right now, and they've been telling me, wait and see these poll numbers that the mainstream media throws in our face. Even these polls are going to change as terror attacks happen and as Donald Trump has a common sense response to it all. The tide is going to turn, and here's two polls in a row. And I'm sure CBS won't lead with this. This won't be a big deal, but it is a big deal to those of us who are watching. Both Quinnipiac and now the Rasmussen poll that shows you in the lead. This is the first time, incidentally, you've led in the Rasmussen poll head-to-head since October. This is what many people are saying to me is going to happen with your candidacy. The tide's going to turn, and people are going to wake up.
Well, I really feel it, Mike. I go to Ohio. We were there 2 days ago, and Pennsylvania, and near Pittsburgh, and I was in West Virginia. The crowds are massive, and I walked out one. I said, I don't see how I'm not leading. You see the kind of crowds. We have thousands of people standing outside trying to get in, and they're great people, and they have such spirit for the country and love for the country. And I'm saying, why am I not doing better in the polls? And I've noticed the polls are coming up, but you have to understand, your show, no, but many shows it's just a constant hit from mainstream media, no matter what you do.
Well,
it's always negative. They make it
you get constant hits from fellow Republicans. And I wrote a column last week, and it got great response. I said the Never Trumpers need a name change. They ought to start calling themselves what they really are, and that's Republicans for Hillary. They have to know that by not supporting you, they are de facto supporting her, which is untenable. It's ridiculous, and I think Americans are getting a little bit fed up with the Republicans who should be rallying around you right now.
Well, aside from the fact that she'll be weak on terror, she'll be horrible on trade, you have Supreme Court justices, probably the appointment of 3. It could even be.
Right.
It could even be more than that, actually, but it could be 3, which will take the Supreme Court, and our country will never be the same because she's going to put super liberals on. And our country, they'll knock out the Second Amendment, sure as you're sitting there.
Sure.
The Second Amendment will be gone. Guns. It'll be gone. And I'll tell you what, even if you disliked Donald Trump, I'm going to put great conservative justices on. And I've already announced essentially who they're going to be. Because I was getting a little bit of blowback on that. They were saying, well, how do we know he's going to do that? Because I haven't been in politics very long. It's like 1 year now, right? And I actually got from the Federalist Society, which is the gold standard. She says that about TPP, by the way, the gold standard. But the gold standard, they gave us and recommended judges, and we announced 11 judges, and they're all superstars, and they're great.
And that's not something she did.
If you don't do that, if she gets in, she's going to put people on like Obama's put on, and that's been horrible.
And that for so many of us is the most compelling, riveting reason that you have to enthusiastically support you over Mrs. Clinton. Now, this week, the Supreme Court handed the pro-life movement a disappointing decision over this Texas.
There's your first example there.
Yep.
Now, if we had Scalia was living or Scalia was replaced by me, you wouldn't have had that, okay?
Right.
It would have been the opposite.
Right.
But, there's your first example right there of, and that's going to be the first of many. And if she gets in,
it's going to get worse.
You won't even have to question. You won't even have to bother going to court. You're going to know the answers to.
You know what'll happen before it even gets there. So just to confirm, under a President Donald Trump appointed Supreme Court, you wouldn't see a majority ruling like the one we had with the Texas abortion law this week.
No, you wouldn't see that, and people understand that.
Right.
And now, when you appoint judges, sometimes they change their minds because you had that in the case of Obamacare with
John
Justice Roberts.
Yep.
I mean, who would have thought that could have happened? He could have killed it twice, and he didn't. That was terrible, and that was a Bush appointment. I mean, that was so bad. That was so bad what happened, and to me, almost not recoverable from his standpoint.
But the difference, but again, the stark difference between you saying you want to see the kind of justices I'll appoint, here they are. You're transparent. You're direct to the American people. Excuse me, I haven't seen a list from Mrs. Clinton. Have you?
No. Well, if you saw the list, she'd get the liberal support, but boy, people would go out. And when you have guys like Bill Kristol, who's been calling it wrong on me for 2 years, when you have all these guys, and it was a rough primary, and they got beat up, but they went after me too, and we beat them up, and now they don't want to endorse, and it's almost in some ways like I'm running against two parties. But
yeah, no kidding.
I'm not sure it matters because I think we're going to win. I mean, the people are so fed up with politics and politicians. But I think I'm going to win either way.
Let's talk a little bit about, a lot of people are talking about this private meeting between the Attorney General. I don't know how much if you followed this, but Bill Clinton is on a plane with Loretta Lynch, the Attorney General.
Actually on the plane?
Yes, the Daily Caller.
Meeting. Wasn't it supposed to be? Did they?
Well, it was on the tarmac. I apologize. You're right, Mr. Trump. It was on the tarmac of the airport in Phoenix. Jazz Shaw over hot air.
Did they go inside?
Right. It was special visitor on her plane. It was none other than President Bill Clinton. It was an unannounced meeting. Here's Phoenix's ABC 15 TV asked Lynch about it. And she said, I did see President Clinton at the Phoenix airport. As I was leaving, he spoke to myself and my husband on the plane. It was about grandchildren. He mentioned golf. Oh, really? The meeting was, Mr. Trump, on her plane, according to ABC 15 in Phoenix. Now, how does this come about? How does the Attorney General meet with the Democrat presidential candidate's husband, former President Bill Clinton, on a plane in a private meeting? Are you kidding me?
It is an amazing thing. I heard about it last night. They actually went onto the plane, as I understand it.
Yep, they did. They were on the tarmac, incredible. And then the plane sitting on the tarmac.
And it was really a sneak. I mean, it was really it was really something that they didn't want publicized, as I understand it.
Correct.
Is that correct?
It is, and it's. But
I just think.
What a stark difference!
I think it's so terrible. I think it's so horrible. I think it's the biggest story, one of the big stories of this week, of this month, of this year.
Yep.
I've been talking about the rigged system, how it's rigged, and this is terrible, and
there's
nobody
your
can
example.
understand why nothing's happened.
Right.
And you see a thing like this, and even in terms of judgment, how bad a judgment is it for him or for her to do this? I mean, who would do this? And I see it's a massive story now. It's all over.
No, it's a big story, and it's going to be hopefully be reported on extensively. It's breaking all over the place, but it also
even
goes.
The liberal media is making it a big story, which is shocking to me.
Right,
right. It's so out of bounds.
It's so over the top. Yeah,
that's an amazing thing.
It is.
Thing.
Now, but it also circles around to terrorism, because the Attorney General, the top cop of the country, we had 49 innocent people slaughtered in Orlando a couple of weeks ago. She said one of the big answers to terrorism is more love and compassion. You say, my goodness, they're chopping off our heads, they're killing our people, they're burning people alive. And people are squeamish about even waterboarding.
Think of it. She was saying we need more compassion. We need to get along with our allies. We need, all things. Give me a break. And they chop off heads. They drown people in steel cages. And waterboarding, which, by the way, if you remember waterboarding when it first came out, some people didn't even consider it torture. I don't know if you know that, but It wasn't really considered torture.
It was intense, rough interrogation. Oh, heaven forbid we roughly interrogate terrorists.
Yeah, and these are people that chop off heads. And I say, we're not playing on a level playing field. We're supposed to beat them. We can't do anything to them. We have laws and all sorts of rules and restrictions, and if we do, and these people chop off heads and drown people. Where have we gone, right? Where have we gone? Do you know that originally, though, Mike, waterboarding, they used to say it wasn't torture. It was a step below torture. And
but you've evidently upset John McCain, because he came out and rather than continue to enthusiastically support you, like millions of us know we must, and we consider it a duty to keep her out of the White House and to elect you, he's holding press conferences and complaining about waterboarding, that you endorse waterboarding. He claims it doesn't work, it's not effective. Imagine a U.S. Senator from Arizona challenging you when you make a common sense reaction to what these evildoers are doing to men, women, and children. It's insane.
Well, I heard he did that. It's too bad. And he said, of course, it doesn't work. And from what I understand, that we wouldn't have Osama bin Laden if it wasn't for waterboarding.
Correct.
There's all sorts of views. I happen to think it works. I happen to think, frankly, that it does work. And I think it works probably very well. You have an administration that's against it. You have a group of people that's against it. They want to be politically correct. So they can chop off heads, they can drown people, but we can't waterboard. That's the way the country's going.
Mr. Trump, there was an image this week of Hillary Clinton and Elizabeth Warren on a stage with matching pantsuits, bright blue pantsuits, and there's Elizabeth Warren shrieking about what an evil man and horrible person you are. And I'm thinking, my goodness, this is probably the best campaign commercial that Donald Trump could receive. And, of course, sure enough, a couple of days later, here you are now leading in the latest Rasmussen poll, national polls starting to turn, and you're tied or you're leading. Would you like to see Elizabeth Warren as Hillary Clinton's vice presidential running mate? Would that be good for the Trump for president campaign?
I would love it. I don't think she'll do it. I don't think that Hillary Clinton, Crooked Hillary as I call her, would do it. But I would love to see that. I think that would be the best thing could happen. She's despised. She's a do-nothing senator. She's all talk.
Right.
She's past nothing. I mean, she's not respected by many of her colleagues. And I will tell you, she is a total do-nothing. She hasn't done anything. She talks a good game. And she used her Native American, so-called phony Native American status to get into institutions and to help her career. And I always say that I have more Native American blood in me than she does, okay? And I bet you do, too.
Probably
I think it's a total ruse.
Yeah.
And she kept Native Americans out of the colleges and, places that she went
legitimate Native Americans who couldn't get a job because she had the position. Yeah, that's amazing.
So she kept somebody out, but she claimed she was Native American. And had she not have been, she wouldn't have gotten into those institutions, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Either schooling or working, but she wouldn't have gotten into those institutions.
Well, maybe
she has no documentation. She has no documentation whatsoever, Mike.
Right.
And it's a disgrace.
Maybe
frankly.
she'll keep screeching at you and about you because that, like you said, that's the best thing that could happen to you. But Hillary said that she likes the way Elizabeth Warren has gotten under Donald Trump's thin skin. Well, it seems to me that the person whose skin got under was Barack Obama, the president yesterday in Canada, calling you out, and it was described by CBS News as going on a rant about you, ranting about, the idea that you're not really a populist. You really promote nativism or xenophobia. Now, there's our president in front of other world leaders from Mexico and Canada talking about you. Who got under whose skin here?
Look, he's a terrible president. You take a look at what's happened to this country. You take a look at what's happened to the world with the migration. Take a look at what's happened to the world in Syria, in Libya, in Iraq, in Iran, which has become a power, because of Obama, very simply because of Obama. Look at how he's discarded Israel. I mean, this man has been a disaster as a president, and it's just incredible. It's just incredible.
And what do we have to believe that Hillary...
Mike, I think we're going to continue to do well. We have Hillary that we're competing against, and she can't win it by herself, so she has to bring out Obama. And we'll see what happens. I think we're going to do very well.
Well, there's a lot of us pulling hard for you and continuing to lay out what you want to do. We're going to report on these polls. We're going to continue to report the facts and let the American people decide. I have great confidence in the American people, and I know you do too, Mr. Trump.
I do in our country, and we're going to make America great again. That's it. I mean, that's our theme. And I add to that, Mike, we're going to make America great again. We're going to make America safe again.
Right. I had Wendy Long on the show yesterday, and we were talking about the campaign, and Wendy Long pointed out Donald Trump doesn't need to be doing this. He's enormously successful, obviously, has this empire that he runs, and yet he loves the country so much that it's time for a dramatic change. That's the message that I think sticks with many, many people, Mr. Trump, who are supporting you. You really, this is done, as I understand it, your whole decision to run is born from just a love of country and knowing we can do better.
100%, and say hello to Wendy. She's a terrific person.
She is. Mr. Trump, thank you again for your time today. All the best. Stay safe on the campaign trail. We'll see. Are you excited about Cleveland?
I'm very excited. It's going to be great. I think it's going to be great, and we've started now, but that will be the real start, and I look forward to it.
We do, too. We'll see you in Cleveland, Mr. Trump. Safe travels, and thanks again for taking some time with us. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Donald Trump here on the Mike Gallagher Show, talking about the candidacy, the race.